What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gay City Sports Channel. As the title alludes to, guys, you guys get the feel for today's topic. Let's talk about the trenches. Let's talk about this interior offensive line. I want to do a separate segment when we get to the defensive line. I'm pretty sure all you guys at this point have seen the reporting that they have now brought in Troy Fautanu twice to meet with the Philadelphia Eagles. From what I'm hearing, the rumblings are Jeff Stoutland really likes this guy, but we all know there's complications here. Because to be quite honest, I like the player a lot. I really do. But I also like the player that I felt like we kind of snuck in the third round with Tyler Steen and drafted last year as well, which kind of brings us into an interesting question. You have two very similar young men here, brawlers. They're both known as brawlers. Tyler Steen, really good inside hand punch when he was coming out of the college level, really good at stunts and twists, picking them up. Bit of a leaner, not a great technique guy, if you will. Some issues there with him. And now we get to like Troy Fautanu, another guy. He's a brawler. He's a fighter, likes to mug people out there, likes to really show off those hands. He's got good feet, really good, strong hands, but he lacks technique, just kind of like the same thing that we kind of saw coming out with Tyler Steen, but he's a higher graded prospect. I think the one thing we can say right now, and we don't know what that pick will be in a couple of weeks. I think the one thing we can say definitively is that they go into the interior offensive line in the first round. Number one, I hope this isn't a pick that we end up trying to move up for to go get, because I don't think this player is a top 16 player. I think he's got tremendous upside. I do think he's a little bit raw. I'm going to be honest, while the narrative has been he could be the potential replacement for Lane Johnson, I do think he's got the ideal size length and a 34.5-inch arm reach. On the interior, guys, the arm reach isn't quite as important as it is on the outside as a tackle. But with that said, like, he has that ability if you wanted him to do that. But I will say, from watching his film over the past few days, what I've saw from this young man is a guy that I don't think is out of place playing as a right guard. Now, he primarily played on the left side. He has played some guard. He's played left guard in college a little bit. I don't know about his previous experience in high school if he's ever played some right guard, but we know he's got a little bit of experience on the interior. He's a guy that I think would fit the interior. He's kind of the baller. He's kind of a brawler. He's really good at being, pinned and moved. He's a guy that you can definitely use as a, kind of that movement-based guard option inside of your system, inside of your flow of your offense. With that said, I already know that a lot of you guys are going to come out here and you're going to say that, Gate, and this is a weird one because of Tyler Steen, what we spent there. I don't like the idea of potentially relegating a guy to being a swing tackle because, even if Tyler Steen were to eventually step in to be a right tackle one day, Tyler Steen's a little shorter in the limbs for an outside guy, to be quite honest. You're still looking at, Lane's not retiring in the next year or two. It's still going to be another couple of years for Lane to retire. So you're talking about the entire length of a rookie contract, the majority of it being as a swing tackle, and then like maybe 1 year to really evaluate him as a tackle before you have to pay him if that's the route they were to go. I mean, it is an awkward situation. But as I was analyzing this, guys, and I was thinking, and mind you, you don't have any control of it. I have no control over it, guys. We can only react to what the picks are and try to make sense of what they may or may not do and why they made said selection. I think partially what has to be discussed is that when Cam Jurgens went down last year at right guard, we had a hard time getting the running game going. And even when Cam Jurgens came back, I don't think Cam was 100%. I think he kind of rushed back a little bit because Cam wasn't the same guy we saw earlier in the year to where he was a really good run blocker early on in the year. The guy was moving bodies early on in the season, and then kind of fast forward to it, and we saw that, oh man, as the season kind of went on, Cam came back from the injury. And the run game, it tailed off for a lot of reasons. Partially, we didn't stay consistent with it. Partially, we weren't really doing a great job blocking it up, to be quite honest. So I do think that with Saquon Barkley here, with Jalen Hurts here, what they want to do offensively and schematically, I do think that interior offensive line is they're not playing around with that. So I could see them potentially using a high pick to do that. That doesn't mean that Fautanu is going to be the pick in the first round, guys. He's just someone that there's clearly interest in. The first round is definitely where they would have to draft him if they're going to make that kind of move. But they've also brought in BB. They brought in a few other guys that are more like second, third round, projections at the spot. It definitely seems like to me that they want to bring in a lot of competition on that interior offensive line to start the season. Now, what I will say about, Troy, looking at Troy Fautanu is that, this dude's strong. He's a really strong player. He comes in about 6'4", 317 pounds. So a lot of the same things that we said when they got Tyler Steen, right, we were talking about, there's certain natural – people like to just, look at a player and they say, this player gained 30 pounds. So putting 20, 30 pounds on this guy's frame will be the same thing as putting 20 or 30 pounds on this guy's frame. Not exactly, man. People aren't built exactly the same. Like, I'm not saying you can't put that kind of muscle on there, but it may not be as easy to set it up. When you get a guy like Fautanu and you get a guy like Tyler Steen, those dudes are naturally a little big. I think there's a little bit more wiggle room to go from like a 315, 320-ish up to that 330 realm, which is what we like to play our guards at. So I think those guys are a little easier in the transition. I think they're incredibly strong. Both guys have really good grip strength. I will say that Tyler Steen's film from college, there were a couple of remarks on there because he's out of position with his lean. Sometimes when they spin, when guys would spin off of him, he couldn't sustain that grip on them to kind of lock that up and not it being a hold pretty much. I think that wasn't necessarily his grip strength. I mean, this kid is really strong, Tyler Steen. I think that was more so a function of just improper placement with your hands. His hands were in the right spot. Fontana's going to have a little bit of that too, guys. I'm not going to lie to you, it's on his thumb a little bit. I'm looking at the situation here, guys, and I just think that they're all in offense. Like, I think they know that window is now. They've got to make sure with Kelsey being detracted from this offense, Purdy with Jurgen stepping in there as the center. I think they know they got to get this thing right along the offensive line. It's tough, man. I'm with you guys a little bit. I really like Tyler Steen, but I'm not going to act like when I watched Fontano's film, I didn't walk away from that going, "Oh, dude can play. I mean, dude's a player. Who's going to get in the league?" I don't know if he's like a year one, the way that it's so hard because like Landon Dickerson stepped on the scene and immediately was a good player, right? Talking a little bit at right guard, you move over to left guard, the dude was fantastic right away. I don't know if we should expect that from every single rookie. I think it's kind of a high bar to set in terms of like the expectation being that. But I do think Fontana is one of those guys within 2 to 3 years. This is a dude that's going to be competing for those Pro Bowl, honor, that honor to be a Pro Bowler. I think he can get into the discussion by the time he gets to the end of his first contract, going into that second contract. I think he can get into the discussion of being kind of an AP guy. He can be kind of an all-pro type of name. I do think he has that kind of upside to him, but it's got to be earned. This is an interesting one, guys. This is an interesting one, and I don't think we can look past the fact they brought him in twice. I will state this before we start taking comments from everybody. When you get into top 30 visits and you get into multiple visits, multiple times coming back. Now, mind you, you don't do 2 top 30 visits. It's just that this is the second time that they've reached out to talk to him. When you get into that, that's not always a good thing. Most of the time, it's just a good thing, right? It means that there's clearly an interest. They're looking into the player. It could also mean that they may have found something either from the film, something coaches may have reported to them, front office personnel from the school may have reported to them. Maybe there's off the field, so we don't know, guys. We don't know what's being reported back to them. So it's not always a good thing, right? I mean, most of the time, it's good when you start seeing these guys brought into these visits. That's not always the case. We got to keep that in mind that we can get a little misled. That's kind of the other part of this discussion I'm always weary of. This is the season for misdirection, right? You know how he's not going to exactly let you know who he wants, right? I think last year, because you're picking in the top 10, you knew the kind of talent Jalen Carter was. Like, you're not trying to fool nobody. Everybody in the league knew that we were enamored with Jalen Carter. I was enamored with that young man as soon as I turned his film on as well. I said about a week or so before the draft, if the decision was mine solely, I'm doing whatever I got to do to get in position to get Jalen Carter. That's what they did. I don't know that this year that you look at a guy like Fautanu and it's that upfront about it. You know what I mean? Like, I do think there are rational reasons to suspect they may go to other positions. We had this discussion yesterday, guys. Last night we had this discussion, and we talked about when you're judging first-round picks, you cannot lose sight of what are the positions that Howie Roseman would be willing to eat a fifth-year option on if he has to. I'm weary of him eating a fifth-year option at safety. I'm weary of him eating a fifth-year option, at I'm trying to think of another position here, like nickel corner, right? He's not going to eat a fifth-year option on a nickel corner. He's not going to eat a fifth-year option on a safety. Probably not going to want to eat a fifth-year option on a tight end, right? There's certain positions. I would even probably say that depending on the running back. I do think certain running backs skew the opinion, but for the vast majority of running backs, he doesn't want to eat a fifth-year option from a draft pick. Obviously, we know if CMC was available, they would have gladly a fifth-year option for him getting past that first contract. But, that's a very special set of circumstances there. I do look at this, and I'm a little up in the air about offensive line. I know that he'd be like a tackle. No doubt he'd be willing to eat a fifth-year option on the tackle. I'm a little hesitant to outright take that at guard. But I will say, if you're talking about the 22nd pick, there's a big difference between picking 22nd and 10th or 9th. You know what I mean? Like those are completely different sets of circumstances with where you evaluate whether or not the fifth year option is something you want, whether or not the pick has the value you want. That's where it gets a little complicated for me, guys. That's where I'm still personally trying to make my mind up about. Okay, we know they had interest. Is the purported interest exactly where we think it is for the stated round? I'm always weary of what I hear from draft projections. Every year they get guys wrong that they tell us they're locks in the first round. They're not locks by any stretch. I mean, they end up going in the 40s sometimes. Just because we know once you get past like the 20, once you get it between like picks 20 and 22, like the 20 and 22nd players come off the board, from that point to about pick 50 or so, there's not a lot separating these prospects, right? A lot of this has to do with team need. A lot of this has to do with, just kind of like the structure of each individual front office and the way that they value contracts. Like it gets a little complicated when you get into those players in that range. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one, guys. All right, I want to get your thoughts here. I want to know what you guys think about Troy Fautanu, the possibility of him being added in here potentially as a guard. I do think that there's potential to think that this isn't like we're going to plug him as a guard for a couple of years and he's going to kick out the right tackle. There's a chance this guy might be, depending on how they view Tyler Steen, it's good potentially if they draft him be your right guard of the future. I do think that this is not a guy who's out of place on the interior offensive line. First, all right, guys, let's see what's going on. What's up, Cody? How you doing, buddy? Chris, the anime guy, says I would be okay with Fontanu in the first. Yeah, I mean it's always weird, when you're trying to judge the value of this because there's some teams that probably view him purely as a tackle prospect, Chris, yeah, I mean this guy has a developmental aspect to him that I think would be quite intriguing for a lot of teams. If you're viewing him as a guard, which I would not be shocked to find out that they're viewing him as a guard, that's where it gets a little tough when you're talking the value of the rounds you pick, right? Guards aren't out of place in the first round, but it's normally the back half of the first round. It's not normally like a top 16. Like, I know you can make some cases that we've had guys that weren't surefire tackles. Last year we had the situation there where we had a guy that went in the top 12 that wasn't a surefire tackle, could be a guard, could be a tackle. I do think he ended up playing. No, I think he did. I think he lined up as a guard actually in Tennessee, but he's probably going to kick out the tackle to be honest. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely there's some trickiness to this evaluation. He's not wearing a hat. Yeah, I got it somewhere around here, guys. I just was like, crap, I'm just going to go live, man. Fresh cut, though, brother. Nah, not really. Just my hair, it kind of does what it wants to. It might look like a fresh cut because it just does whatever it wants to do. What's up, Cameron? Says, so, Gay, I need to pick your brain. I'm going to ask you a lot of draft questions. I'm conflicted. Do you think it's more optimal for them to draft offensive line over quarterback or cornerback? No, not necessarily, Cameron. I think it depends upon how they're evaluating the situation along the offensive line and that impact that they're seeing for the season, right? I mean, and they're really concerned about the back half of last year, and they think that we got a problem at right guard. Like we're moving Jurgens in the center. Tyler Steen, what we're thinking is our first off the bench. He's gonna be more of our swing tackle guy. We need an answer at right guard. Then I can see them prioritizing that position because of that state. The problem is, Cameron, is I can't say with 100% certainty that's exactly the way they're viewing this particular situation. And that makes it a little tough because it's so tough, man. I don't know what they think about Tyler Steen. I like Tyler Steen personally. I'm hoping this young man is out there putting that work in, is about to come out there, as a Jeff Stoutland developmental dude who's about to take over once he gets in the lineup. I mean, how many of us thought that the big boy, the big kid that we had a couple years ago, the undrafted free agent, went on to the Jets and stuff? He was a big old boy, played guard, played center, Gibson, whatever his name was, the big guy. I didn't think that dude was going to be a player early on. I thought like, deep roster dude, might be practice squad guy. I don't think he's going to be anything special. And dude was decent. I mean, he wasn't special, but he was a decent NFL player. I mean, he had a couple of really good games. I think depending on the way they're viewing this, Cameron, will depend upon the way they're grading the draft. Now, I'll say this: I think cornerback is kind of a sneaky need, but they had so many darts thrown at the board; it's hard to organize. And we are going to get into that before the draft, Cameron. I'm going to review the corner situation and kind of bring light to what's going on from the totality of the situation. I will say, it depends upon how they view Isaiah Rodgers. I think he's more of a field corner person, like Slay kind of role. but he has the movement ability, a handful of snaps. Not really enough to say that he's experienced per se, but he's played a handful of snaps as a slot. I think he has all the movement ability of a slot, but it's still projection. To be honest, there, I don't know that he's a boundary corner. A little shorter frame, not the longest guy in terms of the reach and stuff. I don't know if that's a natural position for him. We'd have to see how he kind of lines up the plays there. Sometimes guys outperform what you think they're going to do. So, I mean, we'd have to see how he plays there. I do like Isaiah Rodgers. I think he's a good ball player. Eli Ricks is a boundary corner. I know they played him a lot in the slot last year. I don't think he's a natural slot, to be honest. I think he's more of a boundary. If you look at that wingspan, when you get above about 77 inches in the wingspan, roughly 32 inches longer in the arm reach, the frame is pretty close there. Ideally, you're looking about 185 plus, and you're looking to play that boundary, right? These guys got to be able to stand up to the Mike Evans. There needs to be a little bit of size to it. Sometimes those dudes tend to be a little tighter in the hips, because we talked about this yesterday, guys. The taller a corner is, it's a little harder to get properly in their drops. They tend to be, when they're backpedaling, they tend to be a little high in that back, which can cause some issues with their hips. So some things like that you got to look at. But I do think Eli Ricks is a guy that could naturally compete there. A young man that was a special teamer that I liked a lot coming out of the preseason, Mekhi Garner. He's a guy that they could use him as a bigger kind of strong safety type if they wanted to. I don't think he's a freak. I don't see the lateral movement abilities to be there, but we don't have a ton of film on him to definitively say he can't be free. But I do think he's a natural boundary. If I'm not playing outside as a corner, Mekhi Garner is like a natural boundary corner. So, I mean, there's not, Eli Ricks did pretty good when called upon, but I don't know if they're going to look at that situation with Eli Ricks and say, like, that's the heir apparent to James Bradbury. I mean, we have to see how they play these things. So, like, depending on how you're looking at this, Cameron, I don't know if there's, depending on Quinion Mitchell, the grades you have on him. I like Quinion Mitchell. I like Terrion Arnold. I think both of those guys are probably more field corners, but there's enough there to get by on the boundary. Like, I wouldn't have a fear of them playing the boundary. Some of the bigger guys might be able to take a little advantage of them, no doubt about it. But, there are some dudes like Mike Evans on a slant route. I don't care who you are. You have a hard time breaking that up, man. He's a big dude. They can look for a guy like TJ Tampa in the second round. Max Melton, the young man from Rutgers, he's a guy I think has a lot of flexibility. I think a lot of teams are viewing him as a slot guy, but this dude he's 5'11". I can't remember what his wingspan is, but I'm pretty sure it's like above 77 inches. Young man's got like 32.13 inch arm reach. Like, I mean, he's got the build to get by, and he's physical, man. He plays back to the football. Like, Max Melton's film, it kind of made me take a double look at him. I was like, wow, this dude's a lot better than I thought he was, to be quite honest. I look at that corner position, man. It's really it's what you believe the Eagles want to do, right? I know some people want a Kaylee Ringo. I will say the one thing that's weird about Kaylee Ringo is he's like 6'2", 210 pounds, but he only has like a 74-inch wingspan, which is, I don't know how much more you can grow that chest to kind of expand that wingspan to play on the boundary. You're already 210 pounds. I don't know, guys. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a sports science. Just like the rest of you. I mean, I work out. I played some football. I was in the military. I'm not completely ignorant to those things, but I don't have a degree in that. I've never, really worked with professionals at that level. I'm just thinking logically from the little bit I know, when you got a guy that's already really well developed and he's 210 pounds, I don't know how much more you can expand that chest and keep the frame similar. I just, I don't know, man. I don't think that's really my field, but that would be my question there with him, is that I think he's a little narrow in the wingspan to play kind of the boundary on a consistent basis, but dude's athletic as crap. A lot of things we say, though, about the stiff hips, I think his is a little bit more a footwork issue. I don't think there's an underlying, like, impingement issue with him. I think when it comes to Kaylee Ringo, it's more about inexperience with footwork. I think a lot of people forget how young Kaylee Ringo is. I mean, he's younger than a lot of these dudes that are in the draft corner. I mean, he's a very young prospect. So I think from what I remember last year, they were playing a little bit more on the field side. I think they're viewing him as a potential heir apparent to be, the kind of that guy for Darius Slay. But there's nothing to really change that plan. I just, like I said, I'm not comfortable saying like the development in terms of the sports science side of things. It's because I'm a coach. I understand X's and O's. I can talk about proper alignment, talk about things like that. But when it comes to the weight room and all that stuff, I have friends that do that, do it professionally. Guys I used to work with and stuff. So they would be, I'd have to see if I can get one of them on the channel one time to maybe talk a little bit, because they would have a better idea of that stuff. Not too bad. Hope you and the family as well. Oh, I want to hear a single Dylan McVaney comment here, guys. I'll tell you about my day real quick, Cody. All right, I had to help out in-laws, get them set up. Right, we get done helping the in-laws, and we're like, all right, it's late. We gotta get this baby fed, and we gotta get some dinner. I stop off, I get some Chinese food. I'm waiting to eat till after the live stream. I already ate the egg rolls and stuff. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Um, my wife says, "Hey, can you check her out and make sure she can go to the bathroom?" So I got a strong stomach, guys. I go in there, go check her out. I didn't realize how much poop can come out of a child, guys. It was ridiculous. Got through the diaper onto the back of the freaking onesie. I was like, "Oh my god, this is the worst freaking poop situation I've ever had to deal with in my life." But yeah, I'm gonna take me a drink here. Yes, I'm drinking something as cheap as Bud Light. I'm not gonna lie, guys. It was what was available at the freaking Walgreens. They had the 24 ounces there, so I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna give me a 3 pack of 24 ounce." That's how the day's been so far, Cody. I really like Nate Wiggins, but he's 175 pounds. I don't know if he tackles anyone. What do you think, Coach? I'm 160 and taking down some people bigger than me, but I also didn't play in the NFL. Yeah, I was short of frame too, Cody, especially early on. I think my freshman year might have been a buck 20, buck 25, man. My freshman year, I was small. I played a little safety even my freshman year, to be honest. I was tenacious, but yeah, there's some physical limitations in that little. Um, I will say that he's tough. Wiggins is tough. It's not a lack, like it's not like he's like he's scared of contact. Yeah, I mean he's slight of frame. I mean, it's Devontae Smith, the cornerbacks, if you will, right? Like, I mean, the dude's really good in coverage, got good footwork, good at locating the football. Yeah, you're gonna worry a little bit about him, right? You're gonna worry a little bit about the Mike Evans types, those bigger, stronger receivers, maybe easily get in front of him, crossing his face on the slant, things like that. I don't hate the pick though, to be honest. Like, if they picked Wiggins, I would be like completely upset. I mean, man's got to add about 10 pounds to that frame, 5, 10 pounds to the frame, no doubt about that. But James Bradbury's like 210 pounds. I was pretty disappointed with the way he was playing the short zone. For a guy that's 210 pounds, 6 foot, 6'1", whatever he was, kind of pull up on some of those tackles, man. I was disappointed in him, man. I was really disappointed, Cody, last year in what I saw from James Bradbury. And you remember, I'm a huge James Bradbury guy. I mean, I wanted him to come join the Eagles a few years before he did. I think he's an idealized boundary corner in a Vic Fangio type, system. Once you get 30, though, man, I'm not trying to take shots at James. I'm a fan, but if you get 30, man, time's undefeated. And I'm hoping there's still something there. I'm definitely hoping there's still something there with James Bradbury, but I'm also, you know what I mean? Like, I know the age. I know what we all saw on film last year. Yes, there's some things we can do to protect him, but it's not the same guy from 3 or 4 years. It's not the same guy from 2 years ago, to be honest. Yeah, he's definitely lost his step. Now, perhaps there was some kind of undisclosed injury. If he doesn't require to miss any kind of practice time, it does not need to be disclosed an injury. So maybe there was something that he's getting taken care of in the offseason that we're not aware of. That's always a thing, Cody. Like, you never really know that. But I'm not against anybody. I think they are going to go right guard. I think they want to keep the interior O line stout after losing Kelsey and hope Jurgens develops to his role. Yeah, I kind of get that feeling too, Cameron. That's why I'm not discounting this one. Um, it's so tough, man, because like what I don't want to do is to sit there and think that we have the answer in Tyler Steen and to be proven wrong, and then we're scrambling for the solution, knowing we could have had the solution in this draft class. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. And I do feel like Tyler Steen could get it, man. This young man is strong. Tyler Steen is a strong guy. I mean, yes, there was an adaptation to moving from playing outside as a tackle. He played left and right tackle, but he played interior defensive line. I think he started off as a defensive tackle, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I think it's there with Steen, but you know what I mean. Like I get that hunch too, Garrett. That's the hunch I'm getting right now as well. Now I don't know how much of it is deception. I know how he likes to play games, so I'm like kind of like let me see. As the thing goes on, let's kind of slowly pay attention to some of the other things that are going on. But yeah, Been there, coach. I'm afraid for you. Yeah, Cody, man, it got everywhere, bro. It was a disaster, sir. And, like the kid went everywhere, man. He got everywhere. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to do a load of laundry tonight now. Say they trade up for an O lineman, who would be the biggest impact player long term for the Eagles? Fontanu, Latham. How do you say that guy's name? Flaga? I can't. I don't even try to say his name. Plug in at right guard. Um, Latham's kind of tall, isn't he? Let me. I don't have his information in front of me. Um, JC Latham. How tall is JC? Give me 1 second, guys. The only issue with getting a guy that has a lot of height at offensive tackle, and mind you, there's always exceptions to the rules, guys. I mean, we all know that. But you can have some issues with the anchor when you're that big, especially getting off the ball fast from the guard position. Let's see, NFL.com pulled up now, guys. 6'6". I mean, 6'6" isn't like no man's land, but I mean, he's 6'6", 340 with 35-inch arms, 11-inch hands. I mean, that just screams tackle to me. Latham does. JC Latham. I mean, could you get by with him? I mean, like Brandon Brooks, I think was 6'5". I mean, splitting hairs is 6'5" to 6'6". Still not. Neither of those are ideal. Like 6'3", 6'4" is just work. You normally look for guards. Um, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I'd go Latham there. Um, oh boy, thought his last name was hard. Try to say that first name. Hang on, let's go there. Same thing, man. Okay, Talalise Fuga. I don't know how you say his name. The Oregon State young man. 6'6", 320s, 33 and eighth inch arm reach. Arm reach isn't like, you can get you're having too great of an arm reach inside the interior offensive line. It can be a little bit of a hindrance, to be honest. I don't think that's the problem. You're doing a 33-inch guy. Like, I think that's somewhat standard. I mean, 6'6" is a little tall. He's got to play behind his pads correctly. Cameron, that's an interesting question, man. Let me write that one down. I'll tell you what we should do here with this. What we'll do, Cameron, is I will try to relay this and I'll get a few guys I know who play collegiately who can maybe talk a little bit more in depth about, the size, hand profile, grip strength, those type of things when you're talking interior offensive linemen. I think they can kind of talk about where those lines of demarcation are. So we'll see if Jalen can maybe come on and talk a little bit about that. I got Caleb. Caleb played center at Charleston Southern. Um, we got a few guys on here. Mr. Sandman, who's a former collegiate player, played nose tackle. So I'm gonna write those down. Write that question down, and we'll see if those guys can maybe give us a little bit of perspective on that about the measurables and like what's BS about measurables, like what do people pay too much attention to, and I'll get those guys to maybe talk a little bit more in depth about like how that stuff plays into play when it comes to the mechanics of the position. I think they're a little better suited to maybe get into the specifics of that. But we could definitely use that as a guiding principle. Cameron. Talk about it. Yes. Yeah. Ooh. Tyler Steen gonna get that big V treatment. Yeah, possible, Cameron. I hope that doesn't happen, but yeah, you're right, man. Like, you know, there's clearly going to be some interest here. They're interviewing a ton of interior offensive linemen, guys that could potentially play tackle, guys that could potentially be right guards. I mean, there's definitely some interest going on here. Yeah, he's 6'6", 340. Yeah, he's a big dude. Like, it's so tough though, Cameron, because like I said, Brandon Brooks was like 6'5", 335. It's not that far off of Latham. I don't want to say like it's like no, he can't play just solely based upon that. But I don't think that Brandon Brooks had like 35-inch arm reach. I think he was a little bit more. You can make the argument like we talk about Steve Fontano's like 34 and a half. That's more of an outside tackle guy too, in terms of that leap, that length, to play with. Interior guys are normally like around 32 and three quarters, like 33 and a half or something, where you see those interior offensive linemen guards and stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a great question in terms of like where that line of demarcation is, what are the exact nature to why it takes away. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with a guy like this, that is something I've heard, Cameron, is that in the scouting world, they are a little particular about dudes that have like crazy arm reach playing in the interior offensive line. But that's a crazy desirable attribute when you're talking about tackle on the outside. Yeah. Gates was good. What's up, Dante? How you doing, buddy? Yeah, exactly, Cameron. Yeah, Stoutland met with Fautanu twice. Yeah, that's yeah. I think there's some real interest there. I have the same feeling, Cameron. I'm trying to be a little careful though, because you know how it is, Cameron. Like this is the season for deception, but like it's twice. It's twice now they've sat down and met with this young man. When I watch this young man's film, he looks like a Philadelphia Eagle to me. He looks like a Stoutland guy. I'm not gonna lie. He definitely kind of reminds me of that type of player. Fair point. Fair point, Cameron. Brandon Brooks was a freak athlete for his size, though. Yeah, you're right. No doubt about that part. Like, he did look like Superman. Like, he was a 330-pound guy and looked like he could be on the cover of Men's Health. I mean, you're not find a lot of that. Like, dude was a phenomenal athlete. There's no doubt about it. I really hate the way that young man's career ended here in Philadelphia because, man, he was so good, man. He was such a good player for the Eagles until just the injuries kept stacking on him. He just couldn't stay on the field. Like, I hate when guys' careers come to such an unceremonious end. I'm glad that Kelsey's getting a chance to kind of go out. It sucks that we got bounced out of the first round of the playoffs with Kelsey, but like I'd rather Kelsey go out while he's still like an impactful player than kind of past that prime where he can't stay on the field, he's not healthy. Like kind of what happened to Brandon Brooks, man. And like I have a ton of respect for Brandon Brooks. He's one of my favorite players that I think maybe doesn't get talked about in the way he should be talked about. That dude was phenomenal. Just tuned in. I hate overdrafting offensive linemen. It seems like a waste of a pick. I don't think it's going to be an overdraft, though, Dante. When I watch this young man's film, I think this dude could be. I don't know that you have to kick this young man out to right tackle later. I think this guy could just simply be like a right guard for his career. It's nasty. It's got a nasty streak to him. And he's got the length. If you wanted that arm reach, Dante, to kick him out, you could do that. I gotta tell you, man, he plays with a little bit of a nasty streak. He's got really good grip strength. This dude can move around a little bit. You can definitely use him as a swing pull guard, pin and pull type player. He's got that kind of movement ability to him. I think the hard part we're all having here is that a lot of us really like the potential of Tyler Steen as well. I think they're just looking at the end of the season, Dante. That would be none of us have control over what they do, but if they made a pick like this, I would say that they really did not love the way the offensive line shipped out at the end of the season. And because Kelsey's now moving on too, and we got Jurgens going over to center, this would be like kind of like we're not playing around about this. Like we're going to make sure we got a guy that we feel like is a future asset. This is you know what I mean? It just sucks, man, because I do think Tyler Steen has the underlying talent to be that too. But he might be, as Cameron was saying earlier, it is possible that he gets put into the Big V role to where he plays everywhere. You could say the same thing. Big V did that for a while. After Big V, they had the young man from Auburn that he's a free agent now, Jack Driscoll. He was kind of that plug and play everywhere guy. To play left tackle, left guard, right tackle. I mean, they said that Driscoll had the ability to even play center. We never saw him do that here in terms of a meaningful game. But I don't know that Fautanu is that type of guy. I don't know if he's maybe a 4 lineman guy. I don't know about a 5 lineman guy. But yeah, I mean, I could definitely see some reasoning for that. What's up, Jose? It's still tough to say exactly where any guy is projected right now. My understanding is that the range for Fautanu is in the back half of the first round. But keep in mind that just basically means anywhere from about pick 16 to about pick 40. You know what I mean? To be an early second rounder. It just depends. I think it's going to depend upon the evaluation teams give him. So is this guy going to be a tackle? Because if he's a tackle, it's going to create teams are kind of like looking at his film the way I'm looking at his film, going, he can play tackle. Still could be really good though as a guard. He might be a natural guard. If they kick him inside, then he's probably going to lose a little value. So where he would be selected more than likely. It's going to depend upon their evaluation. I can see something one way, Jose, but you know, the Eagles could see some better way of saying this is the Eagles could see something one way, but the Steelers might see his alignment completely different way. You know what I mean? Like that's always tough to say with each team. So it's probably going to really depend upon are they going to play this man primarily as a tackle, or is this young man going to be a guard? And even last year we kind of faced this this question about where you should and should not take a guard, and I think that's going to kind of like hinder some of what we're saying here because we saw this play out last year with Peter Skronsky. Peter Skronsky was a tackle in college. Skronsky was a tackle in college, little short arm. We all kind of felt like this dude's probably going to be a really gifted guard in the league. I don't think that. I want to be clear. I don't think Fautanu is limited the way Skronsky is in terms of the arm reach. This guy has adequate arm reach to play outside, and he's roughly right around where Jason Peters was in terms of the arm reach. But you can make, the point being is that the Tennessee Titans said that this is a guy that we can plug a guard and maybe try him at tackle later. But even if he's just a perennial Pro Bowl or, a guard, picking that guy and, I think he was like 12th over pick or something like that guy from that area. I can't remember exactly where he's taken. He was picked pretty high, top half of the first round, I believe. So, I mean, I don't want to overstate that because there have been guards that have been picked pretty highly, Jose, but I do think that generally speaking, you see that in the 20s is where those guards start coming up. Give me 1 second. I got to burp this young lady. Come here, girl. 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 Come here, girly girl. Dante says, so if we draft a interior lineman, what happens with Jurgens? Didn't care for him at guard. He was serviceable. He's a natural center, Dante. He's a natural center. He's going to go to that center spot. I mean, it's the reason Jason Kelsey and selected him. He's a good movement guy. I think he played really well actually early on in the season, Dante. I think he still struggled a little bit with getting the punch correctly in pass pro as a guard, but he was really good in the run game actually. Then I think later on in the year, he was kind of coming back from like a second injury. He wasn't. I don't think he was quite right again at guard. So, I mean, that could be a concern that his frame, his body type as a guard. You know what I'm saying? Like, while he can do the job and he's good when he's healthy, might be a situation to where he wouldn't be healthy. So that could be a problem. Okay, little girl, what you doing? What you doing? You trying to get through my neck, bro? Would you rather have a corner or a Fautanu? I think it depends upon how the Eagles evaluate the situation, Dante. That's the side of it like we don't get. I would love to be in those rooms to find out the direction and the way they're viewing certain players. So to break it down, what I was saying earlier, Dante, is if you're looking at needing a boundary corner, right? So naturally on our roster, who are the boundaries? James Bradbury's a boundary, right? We don't know if there's anything left there. I do think he's a better fit in with Fangio than he was last year, especially with Patricia. That was a really bad fit for him, but he also didn't fit very well with what they were trying to do with Desai either. I do think he's a better fit there, but he's over 30. That's a question mark. I like Bradbury, I do, but that's certainly a question mark. Past Bradbury, Eli Ricks has the build of what would be a boundary corner, right? Boundary corners are normally above about 185. They're normally about 6 foot, 6'1" or above. You're looking at guys that are normally over 77 inches in wingspan, normally have over 32 inches in arm reach, is generally speaking where you're going to be at in terms of playing in that contested tight area of space. Come here, girl, stop doing all that. So, it probably depends upon how they view some of these guys, right? I know a lot of people talk about potentially moving Kaylee Ringo over to the boundary. The problem with Kaylee Ringo is while he's like 6'2" and 200 like freaking 10 pounds almost, I believe, Kaylee Ringo has only had a 74-inch wingspan. That's a really short and contested, like tight wingspan. Like that's not normally what you see from a boundary corner to be played on. That's really kind of what you see more so from even nickels, kind of those slot corners, if you will. With that said, I mean, I think last year they were playing primarily as the field, Slay side of things, and that might be where his current position is. We were talking earlier, Dante, and I said, I'm a coach, guys. I don't work in the sports science field, but I do question that a guy that's already as well built as he is at 210 pounds, to only have a 74-inch wingspan. I'm not sure how much more can you develop the chest when he's already that kind of physique already. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm not a sports science guy, Dante. So like everybody, I was in the military. I played football. Of course, I still work out to this day. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend to say that I got the kind of knowledge that would pertain to like sports science. Like that's above my level. We need depth with a third pick. We need depth with a third pick. Baby tax. I appreciate the $5 super chat. AD baby tax. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She just got done eating, so I guess time for the birth. Yeah, we have to. She's got a G tube in, guys. So like she's hooked up to a machine, so a pump, and that's how she eats. So she gets some tummy problems afterwards. So I always have to kind of burp her after she eats. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to find out where I was. Cameron said Fautanu might be going to the top 20. There are a lot of teams that need interior offensive line badly in front of you. And Harry Roseman knows. I could see them trading up for him. Not going to rule it out, Cameron. Not going to rule it out. It's not like I said. It's not normal for an interior offensive lineman to go that high, but Peter Skronsky, you know what I'm saying, Cameron? Like I can't. Like it just happened last year, so I got to be, somewhat. There's got to be some, what I mean, hesitation in stating that outright. Skronsky went really high last year as a guard. Dante said, congratulations on getting your home. Oh, I appreciate that, guys. Yeah, it took forever, man. It took forever, guys. It took forever. If Fautanu plays at a Pro Bowl level as a rookie at right guard, I can't say it's a waste of a pick, though. Yeah. I mean, Stout likes this kid a lot. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what level he's going to be in the league, but I will say that he's impressive on film. Young man has a really, really impressive film. I know, Grilly girl. Hi, girl. I know. She'll fall asleep like this, guys. I'm trying to be a little careful here. Bro, that's your newborn. Yeah, this is Lana, guys. Alana. I just call her Lana Lou. How do you feel about this O-line class? I'm honestly really high on this class, but we need a corner. Yeah, Dante, I agree. I think there are some decent corners, though, that you could potentially be had in the second round, if I'm being honest. Max Melton's a name I would really watch. I think he's a really good player. TJ Tampa, Rake Straw. There's some dudes that can play. Some decent prospects that we picked up in the second round. I'm gonna hang on me hand back. All right, Lonnie, you want to say bye to everybody? She's like, bro, you don't chill. You want to say byes? You want to say bye byes? Bye bye. She's like, no, she burped. All right, you want to say bye byes? All right, guys. You're getting heavier, girl. I think there's some decent players, Dante. If you get past the corners, we go to the other side of this, which you were talking about, which is the offensive lineman. There are some decent depth guys in terms of the interior offensive line. I think it gets a little, but if you take a guy in a similar range to what you drafted Tyler Steen, it makes the situation any easier though. You know what I'm saying, Dante? Like it can be kind of a little weird in terms of that. I mean, if he takes a guy in the first round, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, congrats. I appreciate that, guys. Oh, I got you, Dante. My bad, man. I was talking about using a third round on Steen just to be a death piece. I mean, to be fair, it took Sam Allo a little while to break in too. If you remember, Sam Allo took some time to break in. When he came in, he was a third round pick as well. I know a lot of people, we talked about Big V earlier. I will say Big V, I think, was like a fifth round pick. It was just a really, really good fifth round pick. But yeah, I mean, it's tough, Dante. I don't like on one hand, like if we bank on Tyler being that guy and he's not, Tyler Steen being that guy and he's not that guy in our run game and our offensive line falters a little bit, it is a problem. But I'm kind of with you to where I liked what I saw from the young man. I know that PFF gave him like terrible ratings when he played. I think he played in some pretty tough games against some really good interior defensive linemen, and I thought he really, really stood up pretty well in those games, in those contests. I thought he battled. It's not my decision of Dante. You know what I mean? Like all I can do is react. I'm all in on Brock Bauer at 22, but some of my friends hate the idea. I mean, you're not going to keep Dallas Goedert forever. Especially like if you end up having AJ Brown and Devontae, if they work the contracts out to where they can keep both of these guys for the next couple of years, you're not gonna. It's not gonna be inevitable. Eventually, you gotta part ways there. You're gonna have to pay Jalen Carter. Like some of these other dudes will eventually come up for contracts. They're going to be 20 plus themselves a year. You know, we already kind of moved right where you might be able to kind of skate by on that for a while, but eventually the bill will. You know, it's going to come due. But if you are able to kind of get off of a guy like Dallas Goedert into a younger guy like a Brock Bauer or insert name here who could potentially develop in kind of like what we did with Goddard for Hurts, I do think that's that is a possibility. But yeah. Why are we so worried about Steen at right guard? I feel like he'd be fine. Uh, I think that they didn't love the way the season ended last year, AD, to be honest. Our run game did falter a little bit. I think Steen's a decent prospect too. But I mean, this is Stout who's pulling this guy in for consecutive meetings. You know what I mean? Like Stout's the guy who brought this in for a second meeting, Fautanu, and like when it's Stout, yeah. Oh, what's up, Mr. Sandman? He says, "Wow, you're a veteran too, Army veteran over here. Who? Hey, man, Nate, yourself, man. But yeah, what's up, Mr. Sandman? I didn't know that, bro. Big D was a sixth round pick. See, I was off there. I thought he was a fifth round pick. I didn't realize he was a sixth round pick. How good was Skronsky last year? I don't know. I didn't watch a ton of his film to be honest. Um, Tennessee wasn't very good in general. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to grade that off the little bit I saw from them. I don't think Skronsky was their problem. I think Dillard was the problem. Dillard was not what they thought he would be when they signed him over from away from us to come over there and play. So yeah. The only starting spot up for grabs is right guard. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look, if you can snap, it's such a tough thing, man. Just because, like, I want to see where Tyler Steen is. I want to see where this young man is with a full off season, ability to develop there. But I am taking note of the fact that this is Stoutland bringing this young man in for a second interview. Um, I do think that if you go offense in the first round, man, you got to figure some stuff out of those next two or three picks defensively. I think you got to come away with they need another edge. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be like one of these top tier prospects. It can be a little bit more of an unheralded guy that has all the attributes that Angel is looking for as a back end guy. That's fine. There's no, you really just need the bodies there that can play the scheme correctly. But with that said, you still need one. I still think they're short there. I still think they could use an interior defensive lineman. I don't know that it's a huge necessity, but we see there's some discomfort with them when it comes to the nose tackle position. It's not a Jordan Davis. I think they're secure about Jordan Davis, but you still need a guy who can come in and play 9 or 10 snaps. And you can say, well, they got Marlon Tuioti close. Yeah, but he's on last year in that rookie contract. So, I mean, I think PJ Mustard, that's a nose tackle, right? They brought in another guy for a top 30 visit who's a nose tackle. Last year, they were sniffing around that Broderick guy, the really big dude, like 6'6", 6'7", 340-pound interior. He was like a nose tackle himself. Like they sniffed around him a little bit. I think he had a top 30 visit with us too last year. So I mean, like they're definitely like kind of looking for that in terms of like the impact for the long term future. That's definitely something I can kind of see going on there. But yeah, Skronsky had appendicitis if I remember correctly. Yeah, I don't remember, man. Your memory might be way better than mine, Jazz. I don't remember. Like I said, I don't remember much being said about him last year. Fair enough. We can upgrade there. We might as well. Mustafa was a tell. Yeah. What's up, Samuel? How you doing, buddy? Said Gates, congrats on the new member of the crew. In your opinion, does Jalen really have issues with the blitz, or is it a scheme option stuff that, if adjusted, will help him significantly? Um, I think scheme reigns supreme in this situation, but it's not like Jalen doesn't have any fault in it. It's just that it was primarily the scheme was the issue. There's not a lot of clear built-in hot routes to get the ball for him. it was something I was really disappointed with in terms of the way that Nick and Brian Johnson approached last season. A lot of the stuff I told you guys that stuff was coming, man. I told you guys to watch out for that 14-15. I told you that was coming, the 14-15 inside zone run and RPO play. I told you guys they were gonna box count and run off that quarterback draw. I told you that was coming. You know, they didn't really use the wheel routes and stuff from the running backs that they did at Florida. That was a little bit missing element there. I knew that he liked to play in spacing. It wasn't that much different from Nick, but he used more motion than Nick did. We didn't see really an increase in motion, I don't believe. But my biggest disappointment is that I didn't see them do enough to get hot routes in or free releases in versus pressure on third down in particular. I'm not saying that Jalen doesn't deserve a little criticism, but I'm going to say the majority of that criticism should be squarely on the scheme and the system itself. I would be shocked if Kellen Moore, if you don't see a lot more designed free releases and stack sets on third down from Kellen Moore. I think you're going to see a little bit more clear and easy kind of beat the blitz type stuff coming from it. We were a little too vertical on third down, to be quite honest. I would be surprised if the Eagles did get an elite corner in the first. Yeah, I don't think it's all or nothing in the first, Eden. I do think there's some really decent quality corners even in the second that you can pull away from here. I think if they're looking to replace on the boundary, they might go after a guy like TJ Tampa in the second round. TJ Tampa, it's hard. It's still like the valuation can change. I'm saying the second round might end up being a third rounder. Like stuff right now, like I'm hearing reports on different players where some guys got them graded as second, some got them graded as third. Truth be told, it's going to depend upon the boards of the teams that are in position. Dude could have been a second round pick if the right team had lined up at that pick for that need. Yeah, he would have been a second round, but because the needs were the needs of the teams that were picking in those areas, they become a third round pick. Stuff like that happens all the time. So I mean, that's one of those things. It's hard to grade it, but like there's definitely some dudes that can play the boundary that are more of second round value. Dante said, so I look at Vic as having an opportunity to be what Spag is to Andy Reid. I think this might be a more attractive job with picks and young talent. Good way of looking at it, Dante. Mister said, I usually don't like drafting linemen from the Pac-12. I know what you're getting at, Mister. Because the level of competition is as high as the SEC and the Big Ten. But Troy played very well against Michigan in the playoff game. Yeah, he's pretty good, man. I mean, I do think that I see what they're looking at, right? And I know everyone's going to be like, man, Andre Dillard was also coming out of the Pac-Steve. Like, I don't know. The underlying skill set is there. I don't think, like, with Andre Dillard, I think they got caught a little off guard with how far he fell. I generally don't think that they expected him to be there on the board. They did trade up a little bit to go get him, but, I think they traded up to 22 for not being mistaken because of Andre Dillard. I mean, obviously stuff like that you got to take into consideration, no doubt about it. But yeah, I mean, Mr. Sandman, yeah, it's a legit concern. The level of competition there. I mean, they did have Letu in the pack this year. I don't think they had any other natural edges that were pretty good. Can't think of anyone else off the top of my head like that. I'm sure there are though. Nothing. I'm still surprised, Mr. Sandman. It's not the best time for you to go deep into thought in terms of the Pac-12 and trying to figure the rosters. So does Saquon challenge him as the best running back in the NFL? Possibly. I mean, I think what's around, Saquon is going to definitely help him. I think he's a 3-down running back. I think that's what the Eagles were looking for. A guy that can pick up the blitz, can pick up, the blitz. He can run pretty well in between the tackles. He's got explosive, range to him. This is a guy that can definitely get you those post 15 runs, and he can catch out of the back. Like, I think that he's a 3-down back. Speaking of college football, do you think it's going to be easier to project guys next year? It's going to be fun to watch. Possibly. I mean, I think because I think I know what you're getting at, Dante, because the combination of the conferences, even teams like Stanford and Cal are coming to the ACC, so they're going to have Notre Dame on their schedules. They're going to have Florida State, they're going to have Clemson, they're going to have NC State, they're going to have Carolina. They're going to have a little bit more consistency of level of competition. So that'll probably definitely help them a little bit. I'm not going to lie in terms of the evaluation. And then, of course, the team's going to the big. That's going to definitely help when they go into the big. Uh, some of the schools that are moving from the, was it the 12 into the SEC? That's going to help too. So I mean, like, yeah, some of that movement will probably definitely help with some of the evaluation because the level of competition is to step up for pretty much a lot of these programs that are kind of the bloods that maybe conferences around them kind of eroded. You could look at it that way. I could see that point, Dante. It sounds like you wouldn't be thrilled if the Eagles traded up and took Fautanu over Quinion. Uh, Thrilled, probably not. I wouldn't say thrilled, Cameron. Understandable. Don't would I understand the move? Of course. Um, I think it's going to depend upon that evaluation, Cameron. I'm just not in the room. I would give a lot to be in that room, sir, to hear the discussions and find out what's going on. Um, with that said, I mean, how high are we moving up to get the player? We're moving from like 22 to 20, 22 to 18. Not okay. My main thing is like if we're giving away assets, it concerns me a little bit, Cameron, because we got needs. We still even if we still need depth along the offensive line, even if it's not a day one or day two pick. At some point, we need to find depth there to add. Um, we need linebacker play. I don't think we're done at the linebacker play. I still think we need one or two linebackers. I think we can use another safety. We need a corner. Like we need another edge player. Like I definitely think the defense still needs some attention, right? You can make a case about if you're in position to get the right guys, the number two tight end. That's kind of a need, right? The running back position isn't as solidified as people think. I mean, once you get past Saquon, if anything happens, a little bit of no man's land. If I'm being real, I mean, there's a lot of projection. We're making projections on players. So, I don't know how solidified they are there. And we still probably could make an argument about, I like Paris Campbell. I think it's a decent solution for number 3 wide receiver. Um, Devontae Parker is your 4th wide receiver. Okay, I can live with that. But, contract situations are coming up with A.J. Brown. Contract situations coming up with Devontae Smith. Like, getting another young guy in the fold just in case this thing goes south ain't a bad idea, man. I'm not gonna lie, Cameron. I think if you are giving away resources to move forward in the draft, you got to get it right. That's all I'm gonna say, Cameron. Is I'm not gonna knock him, but if you make that decision, you better be right, and that dude better be a number one day one starter and just a perennial Pro Bowler every year. He's got to be that level of talent, I think, because of how much we need defensively on this football. Eden said, I think the coaching staff really underestimated Denard Wilson. Said, I wanted him for defensive coordinator, Eden. Look, I signed off eventually on Desai. I like Desai's. I like I could sense that Desai wanted it. I could sense Desai really was giving it his all. He didn't connect with the players for whatever reason. Okay, and I said right from the beginning that I thought Denard Wilson should have gotten the job. I thought Denard Wilson did a really good job, and I thought he was talented. I don't know if that changes the complete outcome of things last year, guys. To be honest, we don't know. But I do think that yes, he was an essential part of the success they had the year prior. I'll be ticked off if we pass on Queen for Fautanu. You said I agree with that. Say if we were moving 22 to 14, giving up 53. Oh God, I hate that. I would hate that, Cameron. I'm not gonna lie. Fautanu could turn out to be like next Brandon Brooks, and then I got nothing to say. I got to shut up, right? But I'm going to definitely have original hesitation there. Giving up the 53rd pick, climbing 22 to 14. It's got to work, man. That dude's got to be not just a day one starter. He's got to be really good from the start. It's a lot. It's a lot to give up, man. It's a lot to give up. Now you could say like, yeah, but if you plug him in at right guard, Steven, he's what they think he is. You tell me who's stopping that offense, and you got a point. We better score a lot of points because we're gonna really just depend on Vic. Like Vic, I don't know what you need to do. Just find a way of getting a stop or two here. It's gonna, earlier you guys were talking about the way that Andy Reid kind of plays off of Spags. Spags teams give up yards, they give up points. But Spags finds a way of getting a stop here and there. That's pretty much would be our philosophy too. We're gonna score points on you, and we're gonna trust that Vic can find us a stop here and there. I'd like to stay and play as well. However, Howie is a subpar drafter at that level of the first he needs to move up for can't misses. Yeah, I gotta agree with Dante though, Jazz, that Howie's been pretty good in the second round for the most part, Dante. I mean, yeah, I know, I get it. JGR thing on Whiteside was I get it. But for the most part, here recently, he's done his thing in the second round. I mean, he's been pretty dang good. He's identified decent talent in the second round. He's had a pretty good run there. So I get your point though, Jess. But I'm kind of with Dante on this that there's some pretty dang good talent on day two. I will say, I think once you get into day three, I don't know that I love this draft on day three. So I know earlier I was talking about we need some developmental guys at edge, things like that. I guess you could say you take it further to the following year. Trade some, even if they traded some of those picks for the following year's draft picks, I wouldn't hate it. I get it. I get it. I mean, it does make some sense. This is probably not the deepest draft, but I mean, I do think there was quality in day one and day two. You can walk away with some real playmakers. Some guys that can really help your football. Now, I don't know that there's the star power that other drafts have amongst the top 10, 12 guys, but there's solid players. This is a good overall draft, I think, in terms of day one, day two picks. All right, guys, we've been rocking for about an hour. Whew. I'm going to read a couple more comments, guys. I'm going to jump off of here. I'm going to give you something to eat, guys. But I will be back again tomorrow, guys. I'm going to keep coming back. I told you guys I'd be coming back full time. A little sleep deprived, but I'm getting enough time to watch some film, write some stuff down, come and talk to you guys, and we will continue that. We will be back again tomorrow, and we'll rock again tomorrow night, guys. I like day three if we go get Mo Kamara. How he needs to find a third. So how many mocks have you done each time? I felt like I could have done better. How many mock drafts I do normally? I normally do like a handful just to see how the simulator is ranking guys, to be honest, Dante. So I can get a good feel of how I want to play the board, given off of that. But it is also kind of fun just to, we know it's not realistic the way these mock drafts work out, but it's fun to say, like, if this happened, how would you respond? We're going to do one. Maybe this weekend. We might rock out on a mock draft this weekend, guys. Let's mark that in. This weekend, we're going to do a mock draft. We're going to do a community mock draft. I think Jeff Stoutland was running offensive line drills at the combine, and Jeff gave Fautanu his stamp of approval. I trust this evaluation. Yeah, Mr. Sandman, I can't argue with him, man. He's good. He's good at evaluating these dudes. I hate it for Tyler Steen, man. I feel like he's a better player than what he showed last year. All right, guys. Peace. I appreciate you guys so much. Tomorrow night, guys, we'll be back and rocking out. My guy Mike just popped in. Glad to have you back. Hey, man, I appreciate you, Mike. Hey, Mike, hit me up, man, and we'll do something, man. We'll do something before the draft. All right, bro. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hang on, Bobby. I just saw you came in, buddy. To be honest, I would love Fautanu, but my appetite for trading up is gone. But my appetite for trading up is gone. We have traded up way too much recently. We need to be confident. Yeah, you got to be right on it, Bobby. I'm with you there. Thanks, Dave. I got your comment in, Bobby. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all so much. Tomorrow, I'll send out the alert earlier. Okay, guys. I'll make sure you guys get alerted that we're going live a little earlier than I did tonight. I think I only gave you like 5 minutes, to be honest. So tomorrow, I'll give you guys a couple hour notice that I'm going live. All right. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all.